8 straight playoff appearances, 3 consecutive NBA championships, a mind-blowing 15-1 playoff run. And get this, they absolutely hated working together. These two guys scored over 55,000 points combined in their careers. Shaq was so dominant the NBA had to change its rules. Kobe? He once dropped 81 points in a single game, the second highest in NBA history. The most unstoppable duo in basketball history spent most of their time trying to tear each other apart. One was a 7 feet 1 inch, 325-pound force of nature who rapped, starred in movies, and called himself the Big Aristotle. The other, a teenage prodigy who spoke fluent Italian, learned ballet to improve his footwork, and would wake up at 3 a.m. just to practice. In just 8 years together, they revolutionized basketball. When they were on the same page, unstoppable. When they weren't, total chaos. And somehow, they still dominated the entire league. This isn't just another basketball story. This is about what happens when you put two of the most talented, most ambitious, and most hard-headed athletes ever on the same team. Two guys who couldn't be more different, creating the most dominant dynasty of the 2000s. And the wildest part is, we'll never see anything like it again. This is the story of Shaq and Kobe, the dynasty that shook the NBA to its core. Let's rewind to 1996. The Lakers weren't always the powerhouse you know today. After Magic Johnson's retirement, they were desperate for a star. But Jerry West, the Lakers' legendary GM, wasn't looking for just any star. He was plotting something bigger. July 18th, 1996, the Lakers make the biggest free agent signing in NBA history. Shaquille O'Neal, fresh off leading the Orlando Magic to the finals. The contract? $120 million over 7 years. Remember, this was 1996 money, absolutely unheard of at the time. To put this in perspective, Michael Jordan, the greatest player ever, was making $30.14 million that same year. The Lakers had to trade away center Vlade Divac, signs and trade George Lynch, and let go of 4 other players just to make room for Shaq's contract. Shaq was already a phenomenon. In his first 4 seasons with Orlando, he'd averaged 27 points, 12 rebounds, and 2.8 blocks per game. He'd made backboards explode, literally. The NBA had to reinforce their backboard systems because of him. In fact, during his rookie season, he broke 2 support systems in New Jersey and Phoenix, forcing the league to test and upgrade every backboard support in every arena. This guy was changing the game before he even got to LA. He'd already led the league in field goal percentage twice and scoring once. But here's where Jerry West proves he's a genius. On the exact same day, he orchestrates a trade for a 17-year-old kid from Philadelphia, the 13th pick in the draft, Kobe Bryant, the first guard ever drafted straight out of high school. The Charlotte Hornets picked him at West's request and traded him for center Vlade Divac. What most people don't know is that West had seen Kobe destroy his own son, Jerry West Jr., in a pre-draft workout. Kobe didn't just win. He dominated every aspect of the workout. Nobody knew it then, but this teenager was already obsessed with greatness. While most high school seniors were planning their prom, Kobe was studying Jordan's game tapes frame by frame. He'd wake up at 3 a.m. to practice. By 5 a.m., he'd already put up 400 shots. That wasn't normal then. It still isn't normal now. His high school coach would have to hide in the bushes to unlock the gym because he knew Kobe would be waiting there in the dark. At age 17, he was already fluent in Italian after spending his childhood in Italy where his father played professionally. He'd use this to trash-talk European players in their own language years later. Here's something most people don't know. In Kobe's first Lakers practice, he went straight at Eddie Jones, their all-star guard. Didn't back down, didn't show respect, just pure competitive fire. Shaq watched this skinny kid challenge everyone in sight and thought he was crazy. He wasn't wrong. In fact, during his rookie season, Kobe would challenge veterans to one-on-one games after practice, including Nick Van Exel and Byron Scott. He'd often win. Their first 2 seasons together? Pure chaos. Shaq was putting up monster numbers. 26 points, 12 rebounds, 2.4 blocks per game. But something was missing. They kept getting swept in the playoffs. The Utah Jazz embarrassed them 2 years straight. In 1997, the young Lakers got swept, with Kobe infamously airballing 4 crucial shots in Game 5. Instead of breaking him, Kobe flew back to LA and went straight to Palisades High School to shoot until dawn. Kobe was getting better, but he was also taking wild shots in crucial moments. They needed someone to harness all this raw talent. June 1999, enter Phil Jackson. Now, this wasn't just any coach. This was the guy who managed Michael Jordan and Dennis Rodman in Chicago. 6 championships with the Bulls. But here's what made Phil special. He didn't just teach basketball. He was part coach, part psychologist, part spiritual guide. He'd give players books to read based on their personalities. The Art of War for Kobe, and books about leadership for Shaq. He'd burn sage in the locker room and use Native American philosophy to teach team concepts. Phil brings the triangle offense to LA. Most people think the triangle is just X's and O's, but it's way more than that. It's about reading and reacting, making split-second decisions. Perfect for a young Kobe. But it also made sure Shaq got his touches in the post. Phil's real genius? He knew basketball was 90% mental. He'd run practices without talking, forcing players to figure things out themselves. He designed specific plays that would only work if Shaq and Kobe cooperated, like the famous triangle 2-man game that became unstoppable when they actually ran it together. The 1999 to 2000 season, everything clicks. Shaq becomes unstoppable. 29.7 points, 13.6 rebounds, 3 blocks per game. He wins MVP, getting 120 out of 121 first-place votes, the closest to unanimous MVP at that time. But check this out. They win 67 games, their best record since the Showtime era. Kobe makes his first All-NBA team at age 21. In the finals against Indiana, Shaq drops 38 points and 16.7 rebounds per game. Just ridiculous numbers. In Game 2, Shaq put up 40 points and 24 rebounds, numbers that hadn't been seen in the finals since Wilt Chamberlain. 2001, they get even better. This is when it gets scary. They go 15-1 in the playoffs, the best playoff run ever. Their only loss? Game 1 of the finals against Allen Iverson's 76ers, when AI stepped over Tyronn Lue after a jumper, an iconic moment that actually fired up the Lakers. In those playoffs, Shaq averaged 30.4 points and 15.4 rebounds, while Kobe put up 29.4 points, 7.3 rebounds, and 6.1 assists. Think about that. They nearly went undefeated in the playoffs. Nobody's even come close to that since. 2002. The real finals was the Western Conference Finals against Sacramento. Game 6? Controversial calls. Robert Horry's buzzer beater in Game 4. Chris Webber versus Shaq. Some people still say this was fixed, but here's what they forget. In Game 7 in Sacramento, Kobe puts up 30, Shaq adds 35. The Kings missed 14 free throws. Even with the controversy, champions find a way. That Kings team was loaded. Chris Webber, Mike Bibby, Peja Stojakovic, Vlade Divac. Many consider them the best team to never win a championship. By 2003, it's falling apart. The Spurs eliminate them in 6 games, with Kobe and Shaq posting their lowest combined playoff score ever. Just 37 points. Phil Jackson tries everything from separate practice courts to meditation sessions, but nothing sticks. 2004. The Lakers make their last stand, adding Karl Malone and Gary Payton. 4 Hall of Famers, 12 combined MVPs, started 18-3. Then reality hit. The Detroit Pistons dismantled them in 5 games, holding the mighty Lakers under 90 points 4 times. Malone was injured. Payton couldn't grasp the triangle, and their dynasty crumbled. The aftermath is swift. Shaq forces a trade to Miami for Lamar Odom in pieces. Phil Jackson leaves, writing a tell-all book. Kobe stays, signs for 7 years, $136 million, but misses the playoffs next year. They both prove their worth separately. Shaq wins with Miami in 2006. Kobe gets 2 more rings in 2009 and 2010, but neither reached that same level of dominance they had together. Years later comes reconciliation. At Shaq's 2013 jersey retirement, Kobe calls him the most dominant player I've ever seen. They finally admit their mistakes. Shaq should have worked harder. Kobe could have been a better teammate. In 2018, they laugh about their feuds on TNT, older and wiser. When Kobe died in 2020, Shaq's grief shows their true bond. At the memorial, he shares their famous exchange. Kobe's, "There's no I in team," and Shaq's response about finding ME in there somewhere. The perfect summary of their complicated relationship. Competitive, combative, but ultimately brotherly.